We often debate that in our programs and in columns as well, that you need to focus on the real issues, and the real issues are not the issues that make headlines. These are the issues that cause the headlines. These are the themes. The country has to focus on economy, but on the sort of solution side of it, it's no rocket science. There are hundreds of countries around the world throughout history that have turned around, and the economics are all there. It's a question of implementing them. Now, coming back to this point about Pakistan, I mean, what would be that headline one day that will wake you up to Pakistan changing and would not be the run-of-the-mill sort of alarm bell ringing, worrying kind of a headline? What would you like to read in newspapers, Pakistani or abroad? You say, oops, that's a good sign.
Well, we talked about the growth figures. Yeah. So, a headline that says Pakistan's growth for third year is over 8% or 7% would be one. The other one, you guys have talked about it, and it's about to happen. A governmental transition that is uninterrupted and democratic in its process. I mean, even if it happens this month, but it's through elections or other means, that will be a positive headline, I think.
Democratic transition. So we stay on democracy, and economy begins to show concrete, tangible signs of progress. Would that do the trick?
Pakistan has always been the safest bet in the entire Islamic world. Electorally, and previously also when we were talking about this, I completely share your amazement at this entire enthusiasm about the Arab Spring, because we have been, at this for almost 60 years of our existence.
Every 10 years we have a spring here.
Absolutely, and look at. Oh, forget the democratic interregnums, but look at our dictators. Our dictator, I mean, this is no Latin American juntas. This is not Africa. I mean, our dictators come, and what's the first thing they do, Talat? They go to the court. I mean, they may be ham-handed towards the court, but the very fact that there is the sense that they have to get legitimacy shows that there is the spirit so deeply embedded in the society that you simply cannot brush it aside.
It's not a tribal society where anybody can come in and use through iron
Absolutely. So what we now need to do, and I think that's a much larger debate, which is that, you got the form of democracy. How long will it take for the substance to come in? And I have never been a convert to this idea, which is the Southeast Asian idea, that you first develop economically, and then somehow democracy will come and the substance will also come, and then you can do that. And I think that there needs to be some kind of simultaneity in these two things.
Our situation is too complex to have that kind of line drawn. Well, unfortunately, the time is short. In the meanwhile, what should the U.S. do quickly towards the very end, Feroz Saab? While we stay with the trajectory, while we grapple with our problems and the debate goes on as to what is the right way forward for Pakistan to change image, and not just image, to change the lives of millions of people who deserve better in Pakistan. What should the U.S. do?
Well, right now, U.S. itself is in a lot of budgetary crisis and economic crisis.
So it should not do what it's doing to itself.
Yeah, I mean...
That's one. Okay, that's good.
That's for one.
Yeah. So in any ways, I think we talked about this. Pakistan will do a great service. I agree with both the speakers. Basically, you've got to go through a very smooth transition for once in your history. It's always been turmoil one. And then, right now, U.S. will not be able to do much, I think. You have to wait for this whole 2012.
Which is just as well, perhaps.
Yeah. And maybe by next 2013 or something, new terms of relation will naturally evolve. I mean, it's been 60 years of relationship. It can't go down. Eventually, it's going to come up in a more pragmatic relationship between United States and Pakistan. Is aid and do more and do less. This relationship must change in my opinion.
Well, I think it's two things. One, for the United States, we have to have a policy towards Pakistan. We haven't had one for quite a long time. We have to have one that makes sense and that our politicians and leaders can stick to. So I think that's first.
I can already see Hillary Clinton completely disagreeing with you. I don't know. Why is that?
I'm sure that's true. AFPAC is not a policy, I would say. Secondly, in terms of things that, concretely the United States can do here, obviously there's lots of issues about aid delivery and so forth. For me, being somewhat of an energy-focused person, until Pakistan's energy economy is right, it's going to be very difficult to grow the broader economy. And so if the U.S. can somehow help Pakistan come up with both energy policy and concrete electricity delivery to people, to industry, and so forth, that'll make a significant difference over the long run.
Well, which is where, and I'll just say one thing, which is where the IP comes in, the Iran-Pakistan gas pipeline. Not TAPI, which is a pie in the sky, frankly, you know. But the U.S. emphasizes the latter and tries to reject the former, not because it has anything to do with the bilateral U.S.-Pakistan relations.
Next big issue coming up,
yeah,
IPI.
But because of U.S.'s policy towards Iran. You know, so there you've got another variable there. And I think, of course, there are other ways also in developing the energy mix that we require. But the point that the reason I emphasize this point simply was that there's never linearity in this, you know, and so you'll always have lateral things coming in, and perhaps, as in this case, to mix the metaphor, muddying the water.
George.
I think the U.S. should do less, be less of a presence, have fewer expectations, clarify to Pakistanis they shouldn't have so many expectations. If people don't like Kerry, Lugar, Berman, you know, back off. I mean, I'd leave the money available, but stretch it out. Pulling out of Afghanistan. You want us to leave you alone? We can leave you alone. Not to leave in anger, but to say if that's what you want from Pakistan, we're hearing it. We don't have to stay and impose ourselves on you.
Well, that's a great list. Hopefully that shall be implemented. In the meanwhile, we should be focusing on our own deeds and correcting them according to the trajectory suggested. Thank you very much all the panelists. नाज़रीन, हमारी तरफ से आज सिर्फ यही कुछ इजाज़त दीजिए. अल्लाह हाफ़िज़.